Think you know what really happened behind the scenes of The Summer I Turned Pretty? You're about to discover a scandal so explosive that Amazon had to issue public warnings, cast members literally fled to different continents, and professional relationships shattered so completely that co-stars couldn't even attend each other's weddings. This isn't your typical celebrity gossip. This is about career-ending controversies, political beliefs that created irreparable divisions, and recent revelations that have fans questioning everything they thought they knew about their favorite beach romance. The evidence has been hiding in plain sight, and once you see how deep this dysfunction runs, you'll understand why this cast will never share a screen again. We're talking about a situation so catastrophic that it makes other Hollywood feuds look like playground disagreements. But first, if you want the real tea that mainstream media won't touch, hit that subscribe button. Because apparently, I'm the only one willing to spill what really goes down when cameras stop rolling. Don't be that person who gets their Hollywood news from puff pieces. The first warning sign that something was catastrophically wrong came in the most unprecedented way possible. Amazon Prime Video, one of the most powerful streaming platforms on Earth, did something almost unheard of in entertainment history. They issued a direct, public warning to the Summer I Turned Pretty fanbase about harassment and bullying. When has a major network ever had to literally threaten their own viewers for being too unhinged about a teen romance show? The official statement started diplomatic enough, talking about maintaining respectful conversations and keeping Cousins Beach a safe space. But then the language got deadly serious real quick. They implemented what they called a zero-tolerance policy for hate speech, bullying, harassment, and doxing. Industry veterans immediately started whispering about why Amazon felt compelled to step in so aggressively, and what they discovered was genuinely shocking. The harassment wasn't coming from random internet trolls or casual haters. This toxicity was erupting from within the show's own dedicated fan base, and it was getting dangerously personal with specific cast members. Gavin, who portrays the sweet golden retriever energy of Jeremiah Fisher, was reportedly receiving actual death threats. Not just mean comments or criticism about his acting, but legitimate threats against his physical safety from people who claim to be fans of the romantic drama series. The situation escalated to such an alarming level that Gavin and his new wife had to make the drastic decision to temporarily relocate to Thailand to escape the relentless harassment. Picture this scenario: a young actor having to literally flee his home country because fans of a beach romance show were threatening to harm him. That's not passionate fandom. That's something much darker and more sinister. But here's where it gets really interesting. While Amazon was issuing warnings about fan behavior, there was another story brewing behind the scenes that would explain exactly why this particular cast member was being targeted so viciously. The moment that truly exposed just how fractured and dysfunctional this cast relationships had become occurred during what should have been a joyous celebration. Gavin got married in November 2024, and by all normal standards, it should have been a beautiful occasion, shared with his television family and the people he'd spent months working closely alongside. Instead, this wedding became the smoking gun evidence that proved something was seriously and irreparably wrong behind the carefully crafted public facade. Not a single cast member attended Gavin's wedding ceremony. Not Christopher Brinney, who played his on-screen brother and romantic rival. Not Lola Tung, who had supposedly developed close friendships with both actors during filming. Not Sean Kaufman, who portrayed Belly's brother Steven and had shared countless scenes with Gavin. Not even Jenny Han, the creator and executive producer of the entire show, bothered to attend her lead actor's wedding celebration. When dedicated fans started posting detailed side-by-side comparisons with other popular TV show cast weddings, the absence became impossible to ignore or explain away. The internet detectives went into full investigation mode, pulling up photographs from other young adult show weddings where entire casts regularly showed up to support each other during major life events. The Outer Banks cast consistently attends each other's weddings, birthdays, and personal celebrations. Stranger Things actors have repeatedly demonstrated that they treat each other like genuine family members. Even reality TV personalities from shows like The Bachelor typically rally around their co-stars' weddings and major life milestones. But the Summer I Turned Pretty cast's response to Gavin's wedding, complete and total radio silence that spoke volumes about their true relationships. There were no congratulatory Instagram stories celebrating the happy couple, no behind-the-scenes photographs from a wedding reception or celebration, no group shots, fun, candid moments, or heartwarming messages shared on any social media platforms. It was as if Gavin's wedding ceremony didn't even exist in the minds of his supposed work family and close friends. The most damning piece of evidence came directly from Christopher Briney himself during a later promotional interview. When asked about seeing Gavin after spending time apart, Chris responded with, "Gavin, I love you, buddy," in a tone that heavily implied genuine surprise and suggested they hadn't actually seen each other since filming had officially wrapped months earlier. The specific phrasing and delivery suggested authentic shock at encountering his co-star, not the casual, comfortable interaction you would naturally expect from close friends who had recently celebrated a wedding together, shared personal moments, or maintained any kind of meaningful relationship outside of their professional obligations. Industry insiders and fans began speculating about potential scheduling conflicts, prior commitments, or other logistical explanations. But experienced Hollywood professionals knew better. When literally every single person from your supposed work family deliberately skips your wedding celebration, it's definitely not about calendar conflicts or travel issues. It's about damaged relationships, unresolved tensions, and personal dynamics that have deteriorated beyond repair. The wedding absence was merely the tip of a much larger iceberg of dysfunction. Once fans started paying closer attention to the cast's interactions during promotional tours, press events, and public appearances, they began noticing uncomfortable patterns that were impossible to ignore or rationalize away. The moment that really opened everyone's eyes to the reality of their fractured relationships happened during a lie detector interview that was originally designed to be lighthearted, fun promotional content. When Lola Tung was asked directly whether she thought she and Gavin would have been friends during high school, her response was diplomatically brutal in its honesty. "I think we would have been like, hey, in the hallway, you know? Yeah, but like different interests, different classes, different majors, you know?" The carefully chosen words, strategic pauses, and obvious discomfort spoke volumes about their actual compatibility and genuine feelings toward each other. Body language experts across social media had an absolute field day analyzing and dissecting this particular clip. They pointed out multiple telling details: how Lola's entire posture and demeanor shifted when discussing Gavin, the way she deliberately looked everywhere except directly at him while formulating her answer, how she chose each word with such careful precision that it was obvious she was trying desperately not to reveal her true feelings. The extended pause before she responded, the forced smile that never reached her eyes, the diplomatic language that somehow managed to be polite while also being subtly dismissive. Everything about that moment screamed polite, professional tolerance rather than genuine friendship, affection, or mutual respect. But the uncomfortable dynamics weren't limited to Lola's interactions with Gavin. Christopher Briney's behavior during press events started getting scrutinized and analyzed frame by frame, by dedicated fans who were determined to understand the truth behind the carefully managed public appearances. Fans noticed how Chris would literally turn his entire body away from Gavin during group interviews, creating physical barriers and obvious distance. They observed how he would engage enthusiastically and naturally with Sean Kaufman and Lola, cracking genuine jokes, sharing spontaneous moments of laughter, and displaying authentic chemistry and friendship. But the entire energy and atmosphere would completely shift whenever Gavin attempted to join conversations or contribute to group dynamics. Speaking of dynamics, let me pause here for a second. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Hollywood's messiest secrets, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I promise the tea only gets hotter from here, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. The most damning evidence came from what fans started calling the isolation photos. Candid shots from various premiere parties, press events, and industry gatherings that revealed the true social dynamics when they thought cameras weren't paying attention. Multiple fan accounts posted photographs showing consistent patterns that painted a clear picture of systematic exclusion. Chris and Sean were practically joined at the hip during these events, laughing together, whispering private jokes, and displaying the kind of genuine friendship that can't be faked for publicity purposes. Lola was frequently photographed arm in arm with female cast members and other attendees, looking completely comfortable, relaxed, and naturally integrated into social conversations. And then there was Gavin, consistently standing slightly apart from everyone else, trying desperately to look like he belonged and was included, but clearly not genuinely welcomed into any of the intimate conversations, private jokes, or spontaneous social interactions happening around him. These weren't isolated incidents that could be explained by timing or coincidence. This was a documented pattern that occurred across multiple events and confirmed what many had suspected about the fractured relationships. The underlying reason for all this tension and dysfunction finally started making sense when dedicated fans dug deeper into Gavin Castellano's social media activity and discovered patterns of behavior that directly contradicted the values and message of a show created by a woman, starring a strong female protagonist and beloved by a predominantly young, progressive, socially conscious fan base. The controversy exploded into public consciousness when eagle-eyed fans discovered that Gavin had liked a social media post that read, "When you find out she's unvaccinated, not a feminist, loves the Lord, and aspires to be a wife, mother, and homemaker." The post featured a meme showing a man looking enthusiastic and celebratory, and it was originally shared by an account focused on promoting traditional masculinity and conservative gender roles. For devoted fans of his show that's fundamentally about female empowerment, a young woman choosing her own path and challenging traditional expectations about relationships and personal agency, this felt like a direct slap in the face and a portrayal of everything the summer I turned pretty supposedly represented and celebrated. But that controversial like was just the beginning of a much deeper pattern of problematic social media engagement. More thorough investigation revealed that Gavin was following several seriously controversial figures and accounts that promoted views completely at odds with his co-stars' publicly stated values and his show's core message. His list included following accounts that promoted anti-vaccination content, anti-feminist messaging, and other content that many found deeply problematic. Perhaps most shocking of all, fans discovered social media interactions that suggested support for transphobic content and other views that directly contradicted the inclusive, progressive values that The Summer I Turned Pretty was trying to promote to its young audience. Each new discovery felt like additional confirmation that Gavin's personal beliefs and values were fundamentally incompatible with everything The Summer I Turned Pretty was trying to to accomplish and represent to its audience. When the backlash started gaining serious momentum and threatening his career prospects, Gavin attempted damage control with an explanation that satisfied absolutely no one. He claimed that someone else had unauthorized access to his social media accounts and was liking posts without his knowledge or permission. He insisted that he rarely even used social media actively and thanked fans for bringing these concerning patterns to his attention. However, his explanation fell completely flat for several obvious reasons. First, the pattern of controversial activity was far too consistent, specific, and aligned with apparent personal interests to be random or accidental. Second, this wasn't just one or two isolated incidents that could be explained by account hacking. This was an extensive history of engaging with problematic content that spanned many months and showed clear ideological consistency. Third, and most importantly, his explanation and apology only came after he got caught and faced public backlash, not as a proactive clarification or statement of his actual values and beliefs. The timing made it seem like damage control rather than genuine remorse or misunderstanding. The political and ideological divide within the cast became even more obvious and uncomfortable when you examine the social media activity and public statements of his co-stars. Christopher Briney's Instagram showed consistent support for progressive causes, environmental activism, social justice issues, and values that appealed to Gen Z audiences. Lola Tongues had shared content supporting women's rights, LGBTQ+ equality, racial justice, and other causes that aligned with the show's core themes and message. Sean Kaufman's social media activity reflected typical Gen Z liberal values, supporting inclusive policies and progressive social movements. And then there was Gavin, apparently following and supporting figures and ideas that were diametrically opposed to his co-stars' publicly stated positions, creating an ideological divide that made genuine friendship and professional collaboration increasingly difficult to maintain. Behind-the-scenes sources started sharing more revealing details about how these fundamental value differences affected the working environment during filming, and the picture they painted was fascinating and troubling. Apparently, the cast had naturally separated into different social groups during downtime between scenes, and the divisions were stark and obvious to everyone on set. Christopher, Sean, and Lola would regularly spend time together during breaks, going to dinners at local restaurants, exploring the filming locations in North Carolina, and genuinely enjoying each other's company as friends who shared similar values, interests, and worldviews. Gavin, meanwhile, was more likely to keep to himself during social activities, or spend his free time with crew members and local acquaintances he had met independently. Sources described him as consistently professional and polite during actual filming, but noted that there was a clear social barrier between him and the main cast members that became more pronounced as the season progressed. During natural breaks in filming, while the other actors would spontaneously gather to chat about personal topics, share jokes, or plan group activities together, Gavin would often be observed alone with his phone or having separate conversations with different people who weren't part of the core cast's social circle. The professional consequences of this social isolation became apparent in subtle ways that ultimately affected the show's production quality and efficiency. Chemistry reads and romantic scenes between Gavin and other cast members reportedly required more takes, additional direction, and technical manipulation to achieve the natural flow and believable emotional connection that came effortlessly when other cast members worked together. While Christopher and Lola's scenes together felt spontaneous, authentic, and genuinely romantic,
Creating believable chemistry between Gavin and Lola required significantly more work from directors, editors, and the technical team to manufacture the kind of emotional connection that audiences expected from the central love triangle.
Industry professionals who worked on the production noticed these dynamics and their impact on the creative process. When actors don't genuinely like, respect, or feel comfortable with each other on a personal level, it inevitably shows on screen, regardless of their individual acting abilities or professional skills. The natural chemistry and authentic emotional connections that made The Summer I Turned Pretty so compelling for audiences were being carried primarily by certain relationship dynamics, while others felt increasingly forced, manufactured, and unconvincing to viewers who could sense the underlying tension. The fractured cast dynamics also created significant challenges for the publicity and marketing teams responsible for managing promotional activities and media appearances. Every joint interview became an elaborate exercise in careful choreography, with media handlers strategically positioning cast members to minimize awkward interactions and steering conversations away from any topics that might reveal the underlying tensions and conflicts. Publicists had to work overtime to maintain the illusion of a close-knit, supportive cast family while managing the reality of professional relationships that had deteriorated beyond repair. The amount of behind-the-scenes management required to present a united front became exhausting and expensive for the production company and network. As all this drama, tension, and controversy has unfolded over the past few years, the professional consequences for the various cast members have become increasingly apparent and measurable. The career trajectories have diverged dramatically based on their individual reputations, public images, and industry relationships. Christopher Brini successfully landed a significant role in new, high-profile projects and has multiple other opportunities currently in development with major studios. His clean public image, progressive values that align with industry standards, and genuine chemistry with co-stars have made him an attractive choice for casting directors who are specifically looking to build the next generation of romantic leading men for young adult audiences. Lola Tang has been actively courted for major studio projects, fashion brand partnerships, and endorsement opportunities that capitalize on her authentic social media presence and positive public image. Her natural charisma and advocacy for causes that resonate with Gen Z audiences have made her a favorite among marketing executives who are looking to reach that valuable demographic through influencer partnerships and brand collaborations. Sean Kaufman has been successfully building a strong social media presence while exploring opportunities in music, creative writing, and other entertainment ventures beyond acting. His genuine friendships with his former co-stars and completely uncontroversial public persona have kept doors open for him across multiple entertainment sectors and creative industries. Gavin's post-Summer I Turned Pretty opportunities, however, have been notably fewer, less prominent, and significantly less lucrative than what his co-stars have been offered. While his social media following remains substantial due to his role on the popular show, the kind of major brand partnerships, studio projects, and high-profile opportunities that his co-stars are regularly landing have been conspicuously absent from his public announcements and career updates. Industry experts and talent agents aren't particularly surprised by this disparity in career opportunities. Hollywood, particularly the young adult entertainment sector, tends to be quite liberal and socially conscious when it comes to the public figures they choose to promote and invest in. When an actor becomes associated with controversial political views, especially positions that could potentially alienate key demographics and target audiences, it significantly impacts their career trajectory and marketability.
The entertainment industry has become increasingly risk-averse when it comes to controversial figures, preferring to invest in talent that can appeal to broad audiences without generating negative publicity or boycott campaigns. Gavin's association with problematic content and figures has made him a less attractive choice for studios, brands, and producers who want to avoid potential public relations disasters. The current situation has created a fascinating and seemingly permanent divide among the show's fanbase that shows absolutely no signs of healing or resolution. Social media platforms have essentially become battlefields where different factions of the fandom engage in ongoing arguments about everything from the actors' rights to their personal political opinions to whether their private beliefs should affect how audiences view their fictional characters. Some fans continue to defend Gavin's right to his personal political beliefs, arguing that ideological differences shouldn't necessarily destroy professional relationships and that celebrities are entitled to their private opinions without facing career consequences. They contend that the cast's behavior toward him has been unprofessional and unnecessarily cruel. Other segments of the fanbase feel completely betrayed and disappointed, saying they can no longer separate his real-life views from his character portrayal, and that his beliefs fundamentally contradict everything the show stands for in terms of female empowerment, inclusivity, and progressive values. The most vocal group insists that the other cast members were completely justified in distancing themselves from someone whose publicly expressed values contradicted their own moral positions. They've created detailed social media threads, video analyses, and written explanations defending the cast's behavior as a natural and appropriate consequence of Gavin's choices and public statements.
This fan divide has created ongoing toxicity and harassment that continues to affect all the actors involved, regardless of their individual positions or involvement in the controversy. Gavin still receives threats, harassment, and vicious personal attacks, which is completely unacceptable regardless of anyone's feelings about his political beliefs or social media activity. Meanwhile, his former co-stars regularly deal with fans who demand they take public stances on the controversy, make official statements about their personal relationships with Gavin, or provide explanations for their social media choices and public behavior. The show's creators and producers find themselves in an impossible public relations situation that has no perfect resolution. Jenny Han built her entire career on writing empowering, inclusive stories for young women, and her television adaptation became a symbol of female agency, personal choice, and challenging traditional relationship expectations. Having one of her lead actors publicly associated with content that contradicts the show's core message creates an ongoing publicity nightmare that no amount of careful crisis management or strategic messaging can completely resolve or make disappear. As the final season finishes airing and this particularly dramatic chapter of these actors' careers officially comes to a close, the legacy of this controversy and fractured relationships will likely outlast the show itself and continue to impact their future opportunities. Future casting directors, producers, and industry professionals will remember how personal political differences and value conflicts can completely torpedo a production's promotional efforts, create ongoing publicity nightmares, and generate the kind of negative attention that affects everyone involved in a project. Young actors entering the entertainment industry will learn valuable lessons about the importance of social media awareness, the potential professional consequences of their personal beliefs and public statements, and how their private choices can significantly impact their career opportunities and industry relationships. The Summer I Turned Pretty cast will ultimately be remembered as much for the behind-the-scenes drama and personal conflicts as for the romantic storylines and beach house scenes that audiences fell in love with.
Whether this becomes a cautionary tale about mixing personal politics with professional entertainment, or simply serves as a reminder that actors are complex human beings with their own beliefs and personal lives, will depend on what lessons the industry and audiences choose to take from the situation. What we can definitively say is that this level of documented tension, public conflict, and systematic exclusion between co-stars is genuinely rare in the entertainment industry. The fact that it all played out so publicly and dramatically gives us a fascinating behind-the-scenes glimpse into how personal beliefs, professional obligations, fan expectations, and social media scrutiny can create the perfect storm for Hollywood drama that rivals any scripted television storyline. The truth is that sometimes reality is significantly messier, more complicated, and more dramatic than fiction. And the Summer I Drank Pretty cast learned that lesson in the most public and potentially career-affecting way possible. As they all move forward to new projects, different opportunities, and separate chapters in their careers, the drama that defined their time working together will serve as a permanent reminder that in the age of social media, constant scrutiny, and passionate fandoms, every like, every follow, every public statement, and every personal choice can have professional consequences that last far longer than any television show. Whether this story ultimately serves as a cautionary tale for future entertainment industry professionals or just becomes another piece of Hollywood gossip depends entirely on what lessons the industry, audiences, and future actors choose to learn from this very public example of how personal conflicts can affect professional relationships and career opportunities. One thing is absolutely certain. The next time you watch The Summer I Turned Pretty or see those picturesque beach house scenes, you'll never be able to look at the cast dynamics the same way again, knowing exactly what was really happening behind the cameras when they stopped rolling and the real personalities, conflicts, and tensions were allowed to surface. If this deep dive into Hollywood's messiest behind-the-scenes drama opened your eyes to what's really going on behind the fairy tale facade, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because trust me, there's way more celebrity chaos brewing that the mainstream media is too scared to touch. Drop a comment below and let me know what other shows or celebrities you want me to investigate next. I guarantee you'll never look at your favorite stars the same way again.